Hello everybody and welcome along to a brand new video where today I've got an exciting piece of news, or two exciting pieces of Doctor Who related news. Of course, the first major one being there's a new Doctor Who animation coming and it's the Faceless Ones. So yes, this is the season 4 1967 I believe Patrick Troughton story set around Gatwick Airport, featuring the chameleons, who are sort of shape-shifting type alien creatures who are stealing plane loads of people off that are leaving Gatwick Airport to go and be taken up to their sort of planet to create new people, and all interesting things around that. I don't want to spoil loads of the plot obviously for you guys, but it's very, very exciting because they confirmed a couple of days ago that they're going to be animating this story. It's the story that directly follows on from the Macra Terror, which was the previous story to be animated and released just a month or two ago. So that's quite exciting. They're kind of continuing and working their way through, at least at this point in time. It's a 6-episode story where there are currently two episodes existing, episodes 1 and 3. But rather intriguingly, they decided that they're going to animate all 6 episodes. Now, there's various thoughts as to why they've chosen to do this. Part of it, I think, is down to having a consistent format and look to the programme across all 6 episodes. Because I think they very much want to go for the similar sort of stylistic way of doing the animation like they did with the Macra Terror, as opposed to a very kind of directly making it almost exactly like it would have looked back in 1967. They don't really want to do that so much. They want to make it look spectacular and as good as you can do, making it widescreen, colour, and full HD, of course. And so I think they felt that sort of having an episode of that and then slotting in an old 4:3 standard definition, black and white, real life piece of film in there in between wouldn't have flowed very well with the rest of the programme and the sort of consistent look they wanted to go for, I think is the best logic they give you behind that. And also a part of it is BBC America being involved in this production, like they have been in the last few animations that have been commissioned. And so if that's something they want, they're pumping the money in, so they can have it. It's essentially how it is. And I don't think it's a particularly bad thing. I've seen some people arguing, well, why are you wasting time animating 2 extra episodes when you could animate the Underwater Menace? And it's like, yes, I can see your idea on the surface, but when you think about it more from the point of view of animation, doing 2 more episodes that basically have all the same settings and characters and everything, all the same assets, is not anywhere near as much work, both time and cost-wise, as doing 2 other animated episodes from a completely different story. So you can't just pull that bit of budget and workload off this production and try and tack it on to, say, the Underwater Menace, just as an example. So yes, it does feel a little bit odd that they're choosing to animate episodes that already exist, and I can very much see that viewpoint, and I did feel a little bit, is this really needed? And I think, realistically, when I watch this story in the future, I'm going to watch the 2 real episodes with the rest as animation, even though it'll be 16:9, then 4:3. It doesn't really bother me, because I always want, as much as possible, to watch the original content, and I'm not particularly fussed about the 2 episodes that they're animating. I'll probably watch them at some point, maybe even the first time viewing I might watch all 6, and then another time try watching it with the black and white episodes in there as well. So it gives everybody options, I think, in terms of what you're able to watch with it, and it'll be intriguing to see sort of a comparison really between what they do in terms of the animation versus the existing episode, just to kind of see how close or far away they are in terms of how the original one looked as to how the animation is looking. So I'm very, very intrigued to see that side of things. And certainly as a story, I'm really, really excited to see this one animated, because when I did my review of it a few months ago, it was very much an episode that I knew nothing about before I watched it for the first time. Genuinely, I knew nothing. But actually, it was one of my absolute favourite Patrick Troughton stories. I was really, really enjoying it. It was an absolute cracking story. It really flew along. A really interesting idea with the chameleons, and just setting it in Gatwick Airport gave it a great bit of scale as well, and interesting sort of shots to be able to use and locations to use. And so I'm really intrigued to see how they're going to be able to put this together in animation form. I'm really, really excited to see that. And so in terms of I guess how a release is likely to look, well, we know that this isn't going to be released until 2020. They haven't said when in 2020. I would guess early 2020, maybe February. Actually, this is a guess. The Macra Terror, of course, came out in, end of March, start of April this year. So it'll be the best part of 11-12 months between the releases, which is pretty good, to be fair, when it took essentially 18 months from Sharda being released in sort of November, I think it was October-November 2017, to getting the Macra Terror in April 2019. It was quite a long time apart, really, ultimately. So I think it's quite good to speed it up, and it was interesting reading from Rob Ritchie, who's one of the animators who has done the last few animations, talking about how he'd already started working on this one before he'd finished the Macra Terror. So they're commissioning well in advance, which is very understandable, and they're getting going and working on this before it even starts as well. So these 2 animations have overlapped, which is really, really interesting. Obviously quite a blooming hard workload for Rob and all the team involved with the animation, who do a brilliant job with all of these animations. It's always really, really impressive to see how they just keep on improving as well. I think that's the key thing. You look at just Power of the Daleks versus Macra Terror, it's a massive difference in the quality of the animation. As much as I think the Power of the Daleks is good, you can very much, if you compare it to Macro, you can see the big difference that 3 years of doing it more, developing sort of skills, developing software and technology to be able to do it better, just makes such a big difference. And so I'm really, really excited to see what they can do with the Faceless Ones. So we've got quite a long time to wait, unfortunately. It's probably going to be 7-8 months, but it's good to know now. I think it's good rather than getting leaked information as to, oh, it might be this, it might be that, even though it already had kind of leaked that the most likely one was going to be the Faceless Ones, was the rumoured one to be next. It was initially Fury from the Deep, and then that kind of died down, and then it was, oh, the Faceless Ones is the next one to come, and it's turned out to be true. In terms of a format on the discs, I'd imagine that they'd probably put the episodes 1 to 6 colour animation on the Disc 1, then Disc 2 might have the existing episodes and either, I guess, maybe a reconstruction or maybe black and white versions of the animated episodes on there as well, maybe 1 to 6 in animated, and then also with an optional sort of ability to watch the original episodes from 1 and 3 as well. I'd imagine they'll very much market this on the animation and not about there's existing episodes there. They'll put them there and they'll restore them, and it'll be great because they haven't been really restored at all. They were last released on the Lost in Time box set back in 2004. So it'll be 15-16 years since they were last released, and so we'll have had lots of advancement in technology to just give a better restoration of those episodes, which will be really, really good. But I do get the sense that it'll be all about the animation and not so much about the existing episodes, which I don't think is a problem. I think it's just a marketing tactic, and it makes a lot of sense. One other thing I have seen people talking about is, given the fact that they seem to be animating a lot of season 4 at the moment, of course we had the Power of the Daleks, then the Macra Terror, and now the Faceless Ones all getting animated fully. Along with having in the past had the Moonbase be animated 2 episodes of as well, leaving, I believe, only 11 episodes, I think, left to be animated. Of course, 6 episodes of Evil of the Daleks, 4 episodes of the Highlanders. In terms of Patrick Troughton season 4 at least, there's not a huge amount left to fill. A couple of episodes of the Underwater Menace. So there's a few there, but it is more and more becoming a more complete season, which is encouraging, and I think it'll be intriguing to see what they do in terms of a season 4 Blu-ray release in the future. Whether they look to delay this one a long way because they don't want to impact on sales of the Blu-rays or the sort of individual animations now, whether that's a reason to release it more soon. It's a little bit hard to know. Will they do, when they get round to the early seasons, will they sort of sell it with a new animation on it? So say season 4, maybe they'll sell the box set with an exclusive Evil of the Daleks animation on it. I don't know. Could they do something like that as a really good marketing ploy? It would make a lot of sense. There's just lots of possibilities and exciting things to come, I think, and lots to look forward to now that we're really getting properly stuck into animations and really doing them on a consistent basis, which is really, really exciting. So yes, lots of exciting things to come out of the Faceless Ones and lots to look forward to. Do let me know your thoughts down on that announcement in the comments below. But now I also wanted to talk about another little piece of news that I've picked up on the old Doctor Who forums, where this image from HMV, somewhere in the country of the UK, has listed under September the 16th, Doctor Who Season 23. Now that's very intriguing, isn't it? Because that seemingly suggests that we're going to be getting a Season 23 Doctor Who Blu-ray come September, which is quite exciting. Of course, we've already got the announcement of the Season 10 Blu-ray featuring John Pertwee as the Doctor coming out at the beginning of July. And so it looks like only 2.5 months later or so, we're going to be getting another one, Season 23, which is, of course, a Colin Baker season, the Trial of a Time Lord season, so the four stories, but also all in one story, 14 episodes, making up what I think is personally an underrated series. I know a lot of people like to hate it and just think it's generally awful, but I do think it's got its merits. I think there's a lot of ambition, and I like the idea behind it. I like the idea of a story arc running throughout the season, with lots of twists and turns, the Doctor being on trial. I think that's an interesting idea. There's some of the stories maybe aren't brilliant. I don't think it's vintage Doctor Who by any stretch of the imagination, but there's a lot of ideas in there, and I do think it's an overall interesting sort of four stories and an interesting season to look forward to. So I'm very much looking forward to it getting the Blu-ray treatment, more and more additional features. I know there's quite a few on there already on the DVD release, so I'll be intrigued to see what route they go down with that. Will it be the season for a nice big Colin Baker interview? That would be good to see. I'd love to see one of those. So that's to look forward to. I guess the intriguing thing will be how they sort of price and market this box set, because in many ways it's likely to have a lot less content than really any of the other seasons released so far. Of course, pretty much every season so far has had a retail price of £40 in the UK. I'd be surprised if they can get away charging £40 in the UK for this set, when I believe the original Trial of the Time Lord DVD, sort of the same amount of content essentially, on DVD only cost about £20, I think, or something around there. So I'd be surprised if they try and charge, well, no, I wouldn't be that surprised at the BBC if they tried to charge 40 quid for it, but I feel like a more realistic price tag would be around £30 to be able to sort of justify this box set, unless it does have a lot of additional features and something else left field, maybe some Big Finish stuff in there. I don't know, could you use the lost season 23, the season that should have been in 1985 when Doctor Who went on hiatus for 18 months? Could you pull in maybe one or two of the Big Finish audios from those, because they've remade in audio form pretty much all the stories that were meant to be in that season? Could that be an option to pad out set a bit more? I don't know. Probably quite difficult to license it with Big Finish, but you never know. It's always a possibility. It'd be intriguing to see. Or even the possibility of doing some sort of mini 5-minute animation of Colin Baker's regeneration scene as portrayed in Big Finish. I think is it called The Last Adventure or something not very interesting, a title like that? I can't quite remember. But that's just another possibility, is a little sort of USP for this set, because I feel like otherwise it's going to be quite a difficult sell for anybody who's not a hardcore Doctor Who and classic Doctor Who fan, because no, it's not the most well-regarded season or the most well-known season or with the most well-regarded Doctor, so it's hardly an easy marketing strategy. So in some ways it's good they're getting it out of the way, but yeah, it could be a challenge. And the other thing worth saying is there's still high rumours that season 26 will come out at the end of the year as well, so it's looking likely, well, it's certain that we're getting season 10 in very early July. I'd say it's probably 95% sure, or very, 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 very likely that we're going to get season 23 come the middle of September. And then I'd say maybe beginning of December we might get the season 26, the final season of Classic Who. Sylvester McCoy, even his final season of the Doctor, which is generally a pretty highly rated season. I never delved into it that much, but there's certainly a lot in there I think to enjoy. And so it would be a year where we just about squeeze in 4 Blu-ray releases, which would be quite exciting, really. So yes, guys, there's just a few little bits of Doctor Who sort of DVD/Blu-ray announcements and releases and leaks and general stuff that's happening in that regard. Do let me know your thoughts on all these things down in the comments below, guys. I always love to hear what you guys have to say. Lots of exciting releases to come in a barren year for Doctor Who. There's still some things to get excited about in the short and the long term. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this quick little video. Remember that like button, subscribe if you're new here, and I'll see you again very soon for another one. Goodbye.